Okay, great. So let's start. So today we would be discussing about Forecast Pro. What are the various key features of this award-winning system that we have. Let me give you a brief intro about Forecast Pro to people who are quite new to this software, the system. So what uh, and before even say giving the information of about Focus Pro, I would just give a brief intro about Anamine. So we help improve the planning processes in the company, and for that we have three different divisions over here. As you can see, the first one is planning solution, the second one is planning services, and then the planning education. So we have different forecasting softwares for planning for the entire end-to-end demand planning and for my supply planning, for MRV planning, capacity and financial planning as well. Focus Pro, it's a very comprehensive system which can do a demand planning quite effectively. It has very detailed features for demand planning, and it can also support basic supply planning capabilities as well. It is from a company back in US, and they are based out of Boston. It's from Business Forecast System, and it's more than 35 years, established company, and they have made a very powerful, easy to use, easy to implement software for forecasting and predictive planning needs of the company. This is just a small glimpse of the customers and the various features that are there in Focus Pro, which I would definitely be taking you guys through this system today. So let's quickly move to the forecasting methods. I'll definitely showcase these to you as well today, and with a few glimpses over here, few of the testimonials. And let's now move towards the forecasting solution that we have and that we were eagerly waiting for to showcase over here. So this is a Forecast Pro. It's a desktop-based solution, and as you can see over here on the left-hand side, we have done, we have taken a dummy company, and we have created certain categories or divisions within which this company is you know is selling its product. So there are, as you can see, there are a couple of divisions. One is chemical and paints, consumer goods, cosmetic, F&B, fashion and apparel, pharma. So these are the various divisions which are there in this dummy company. And within this, we have further segregated the product lines. So we have beverage within food and beverage, we have food, we have ready to eat mix category, we have in chemical paints, we have adhesives, chemical fertilizers, wall care, and consumer goods, we have electronic and furniture. So as you can see, it's quite spread out, indicating that it's quite customizable to have those categories, those information about the product lines over here in the system without any issues. So we can customize this hierarchy. uh, in this case, we have segregated it by division first, then by product lines, then by particular product types. This company is selling or replenishing its product from two warehouses. One is warehouse one, which supports Bangalore and Chennai. The other one is warehouse two, which supports Chandigarh and Delhi. So what the easy part of this system is creating this product hierarchy, which helps us in slicing, dicing, and analyzing the information quite easily. So I've taken, for example, this product, which is an aerated drink, 500 ml, which sells in Bangalore. And you can see the green color line over here is indicating its past historical sales. So, and that's how essentially majority of the systems are capable of, they take the previous historical sales of the product and determine and predict the forecast. So over here, the green color line is indicating the past sales basis which the system is generating the forecast for the forward period. So the red color line over here is the forecast, which you can see. And now you would have a question, how is the system determining the forecast? There are various detailed algorithms which are part of the system, which are inbuilt in the system, which automatically determines this forecast value. So basis certain rules, algorithm, the system is able to determine the okay, let me arrange. Yeah, so I've opened the forecast report where it tells me in detail what was going behind the scene to be able to determine the forecast. So system, in this case, system has automatically picked up. So any powerful system should be capable of generating the forecast on its own. We shouldn't be manually selecting any of the models which are part of the various time series forecasting or causal methods, anything. So in this case, system is, as you can see over here, it's quite capable of predicting and selecting the models on its own. So over here, it is telling me, giving me a report which is quite comprehensive to determine it bases certain rules and logics. It has narrowed down between, say, exponential smoothing and box ranking. And within these two models, it is further doing an out of sample test to determine which is the model which is giving it the least error. The MAD value, which is mean absolute deviation in this case, is less for exponential smoothing model, and that's why it has selected exponential smoothing. And it further goes on to give the details of this report. I'll not dig into the details of the report or the parameters that over here that the system is showing in this report, because essentially that's what the job of the system is, to be able to predict the forecast, or select the best fit model. In this case, it is using an expert selection to determine the best fit model out of all the various options available. So as a planner, I am not going to, manually do the exercise of finding the last 3 months moving average or last 6 months moving average. System is doing that for me automatically, and it is determining, in this case, as you can see, it is automatically determining the seasonality. So I can see that there are certain trends in which there is certain peak in the month of August, September, November, maybe because of it's a festive time, because of which my sales go high, and system is quite easily picking that up for me. I do not have to uh, use the very basic methods of last few months moving averages to determine the sale of forward period. That is giving me full 12 months of forecast on a rolling basis for with seasonality as one of the key impact parameter. So we have the baseline number, and essentially how a planning process usually pans out is we also go about cleaning the history to make the forecast much more accurate. So we have got the rough cut numbers from the system. What our responsibility as a planner is to further clean the historical sales, and for that we have taken, say, a standard deviation of 4 as an outlier correct detection and correction criteria, because of which system is detecting outlier in this case. As you can see that there are the months of Jan and July where the sales went quite high, maybe because of some promotion that we had done in this time period, or maybe it was some sort of advertisement that we had done, because of which the sales went high, especially only in the Chandigarh region. So what we as a user can do is we tell the system to correct it as an outlier altogether. We give that direction uh, to the system, in which case it will smoothen out the history. It will try to determine what should have been the corrected value. And you can also see the corrected value over here. It gives me the information that this is the outlier value. This should have been the corrected value of the items, and then this is the delta. So it's trying to figure out that this, if this was the corrected value, then what should be the impact on forecast. So again, I'm not doing this job. System is automatically, quite, easily telling me this information. It's figuring out in the back end, and I can just simply right click and tell that mark this as an outlier, or I can take this as an input because I know that there was certain event that we had run for this particular time period. I tell the system that this don't bother. This was a promotion, so let's mark this as promotion. We are marking this as an event promotion, and automatically my forecast is smoothing out for the forward period. um, it's quite interesting to know at this point of time as to how the system is now telling the algorithms in the backend that meet we are now we have the information that this was a promotion, so we are now able to explain this outlier. So it's explaining it in the backend that this was an event because of which the sales or the numbers look so high. So now take this information, smoothen out this data, and generate the forecast. We can really make use of this feature, and you would notice that the forecast over here has changed. We can also say do a different simulation where we can see that this particular time period, which is the month of October 2019, in this time period, the sale of toasters went high, and maybe we had run some festive promotion or some other kind of promotion in the back end. So we tell the system that use the promotion technique. And over here, as a planner, my feedback to the system is not just of cleansing the past history data, but I'm also going to cleanse the forward forecast or model the forward forecast in a way that I tell the system that determine the impact of this promotion in the past and apply it to the forward period. This time we are going to run the promotion in say April. We're not going to run the promotion in October. So I tell the system use this promotion technique, which I've already built in over here. Use this promotion and determine the forecast now. So you would notice that the forecast over here would now change. So it has taken the impact of this promotion that we had done in the month of October and have now applied it to April. So that's one way of creating or forming certain scenarios and automatically determining what would be the impact of it on my forecast. We can also say simulate that now we are going to run this promotion in 2 months, not just 1 month. So I tell the system that use this particular month as an event as well, and you would notice that there is a huge spike. And the spike, what we notice over here, that the impact of the same promotion in a different month, because it's also taking into consideration the seasonality. It's quite different than what it had done in April. So the behavior of the impact along with seasonality is automatically detected by the system and applied it in the forecast, which is quite crucial to the planning team, that we make use of such functionality to determine the forecast for the forward period. And these are the various tricks that essentially, you know, improve the planning process and takes it to the next level, because we have a good solution in on hand, and we can make use of these features automatically. That was one other method that we wanted to essentially cover over here. Next, I really want to talk about the weight situation, or say the COVID situation, which is impacting the sales. And say we are in the month of February, and we have this information that our sales are going to go down for March, for April, for May as well, but in different fragments. Maybe the sale of February is just 30% of what should have been, or in March it was 30%. In April, it was hardly 10%, but in May, it's now recovering. So we can give that weight information in the backend, and we can tell that use this information in which we have created two scenarios. So one scenario that the sales are going to be back to normal by say 50% in the month of May, and then there is another scenario as well. So I'm going to use scenario one, and when I do that, you will notice that the sale during at least this time period, which is Feb, March, April, it would change quite drastically. And when I do that, I'm just telling the system use the weights. So it's now it is reduced the forecast for these three periods, explaining that because of XYZ reason, the sale was not as good as what we had expected. And the reason is quite clear. It is because of the COVID-19. So using weights, essentially what weights is doing, it's trying to determine the whether this particular time period, whether it was 100% or was it only 10 to 15% of what the normal situation should have been. So it's very easy to simulate any kind of situation or circumstances which would be impacting our sales. I can also say make use of another scenario, which is scenario two in this case, and my forecast would slightly change depending on how much weight I had given for each of these periods. So eh, again, a very critical information to the planners. Similarly, we can do that in history, or if we are marking a promotion, we can quickly do that and adjust the forecast. We what it's very quite straightforward, and I wanted to show you the Excel file. We have created two scenarios, one scenario one and scenario two. So this is weight one, weight two, and you will notice for all the forward periods or all the historical periods, it's 100% of the sales. But for the Feb, March, and April, May, the behavior that we are expecting from the markets, it's different. So that's the two scenarios that we have incorporated. We can tell the system that instead of 80, maybe make it as 40 or say even 60. And maybe the impact is going to continue in June as well. So make this as 70 and not 100%. We can do that, and I'll just save this file. I can go back to the system and tell the system to just refresh the data. I've refreshed, it's updated. See, it took me just few seconds to do this, and now I can say use scenario one, and you will notice the June sale would also now drop down. So it says now trim. It's that easy to make use of this functionality of the system to adjust the forecast, plan for what should be ideally the market situation, plan it accordingly. We can either make use of weights, or we can make use of the event section, where we tell the system that we are expecting an event. However, the event is say is going to be a one-time event. Sorry, let me open the event tool. Yeah. So, for example, there was say similar circumstances where, say, due to XYZ reason, our sales had gone down in the month of September. Yeah, in September, our sales were down, and I would say it was because of stock out. It could be because of stock out. It could be because of supply constraints. We can create those events in the future, and we keep on telling the system that this kind of event we are expecting in the month of April as well, because the government decided for to go for a lockdown. Even in May, there was a lockdown. So I tell that the similar event is going to happen in the future, and we make use of this information to adjust the forecast, and now it is trimmed down. So it's very easy to make these kind of scenarios in the system, and you will notice it is not impacting our future time period. So the same period next year is not going to have an impact, because system already knows that this was because of certain event, it was because of COVID, it was because of stock out, or it was because of some supply constraint, or maybe because of some promotion, and it is adjusting the forecast accordingly. So this is very critical information that we can make use of and model it very easily in the system, quite easily. I'm also now going to take a very important feature of the system. Just a couple of hours back, I was in a discussion with one of the retailers in Bangalore, and they said that they're expecting quite a different, unusual things happening. First of all, the stores are not open 100%, so they are not fully open, unlike the pre-COVID times where the stores were say open for 12 to sorry some for 12 hours, but now the stores are opening for just a few hours itself. They are not open throughout the day. So the operational time is reduced, so the sales are not fully back. However, they're saying that the customers are also doing some revenge shopping. They are buying stocks in bulk to be able to mitigate any of the such circumstances. Say if the lockdown happens again, they should be better prepared. So they're seeing a mixed approach over here, and that is a very critical information. That we would also be wanting to incorporate in our system. It could be incorporated either through event, as I've shown in these cases, that we can create the events. We can also say make use of the regression techniques. Basically, the regression techniques comes into picture where we have certain external parameter which is impacting the sale, and that is impacted in quite a long time now. I'm just going to show you that this is the history data that we have. In this example, what we have taken a product which is sold in Chandigarh, and this product is an aerated drink. And because it's an aerated drink, we know that temperature plays a very big role in the sale of the product. So as the temperature increases, possibly the people or consumers want to purchase this product more compared to any of the time periods. So we see that as and when the temperature is changing, our sales are also changing accordingly. But our system by default, by through time series techniques, it is predicting this kind of trend. The red color line is indicating the forecast. So it is just predicting this pattern because there was similar dips in the months before July. However, we got to know the information, say, from the weather industry, that there might be certain cyclone because of which temperature is going to be slightly different. So we have put in the information of temperature over here, and this slight pink color line is the temperature. And we see that there is a huge difference between how the temperature is going to pan out and how our sales are turning out to be. And we can, in such cases, make use of the regression techniques. These are the causal methods. We tell the system that along with time series modeling techniques, we make use of an external parameter, in this case, temperature. As you can see, there are other parameters as well, but we are not at the moment taking that information into account. For now, we will be taking only temperature data. And when I select temperature, you will notice that the forecast for this product is going to be more in line with how the temperature shifts are happening. So that's a very quick. You could see it was very quick and easy to use techniques over here. Similarly, we can use price as one of the factor. Are we giving certain sort of discounts at different point in time? If we are giving certain discount in the history, and we would want to make use of the discounted techniques in the future, then that can also be considered, and our forecast would be adjusted. The predictions from the system would automatically become in line with the information that we provide to this particular item. So these are a few critical areas where we can actually make use of the sophisticated modeling and scenario modeling techniques, the event marking techniques of the system to be able to mitigate the demand. There's one question over here that apart from temperature, any other attributes can be considered. We can consider as many attributes as possible. It was just for a dummy example over here that we have taken temperature. We can take say promotions or any of the festive promotion, or maybe we are running a buy one get one free kind of promotion, because of which the sales are going very high. So we can make use of that technique as well. However, just for the purpose to show you the how the impacts or how the system basically make use of this information, we have taken this. It's really important to keep in mind that we use the correct parameters. So the parameters should be able to explain the sales, or should be able to explain the changes in the sales that is happening. If that's not the case, if the parameter is truly not explaining these deviation, then ideally we shouldn't take those external parameter, because then it's going to distort my predictions. It's not going to give me an accurate prediction at all. So we need to be very careful, and for that, system is going to give me a detailed report over here, whether this regressor, what was its coefficient, what was its value, whether it is relevant or not. So it is giving me that this particular parameter is quite valuable. So the statistics has come out to be like that, and we can make use of this parameter. If it is not, it's going to indicate me in the red that this particular parameter is insignificant, or this external parameter is insignificant to be used. So we can make use of that information from our forecast report to be able to determine which external parameter to take and which parameter to remove from our prediction. So say once we have done we have generated as accurate prediction of products of various different product lines as possible. The next best thing to do is have the collaboration, or have the judgment and the collaboration with the team. Um, and I'm sure most of you would realize at this point of time, all we are doing is, relying on the information that our sales team is giving us, the market is giving us, the government is giving us. So we need to incorporate that information in our process to be able to determine the prediction quite accurately. So that's a key component of any process, that we make use of the collaboration technique and collaborate with other stakeholders from the collaborate with other stakeholders to make this process as robust as possible. So in this case, what we have done, we have created three segments. So first is my statistical prediction, which is coming from the system. Then we have the information coming in from the sales team. We have given this particular row. We have then asked the planners to make any corrections to this number. Maybe marketing team would want to come and give their information, give their inputs, or maybe the management would want to give that information, or the supply chain team, who are the most impacted in this time period. They might give this information that supply to a particular location. Say Delhi is not happening, it's under lockdown, the borders are sealed, so we would not be able to transport the products from the location. So in those cases, it becomes very crucial to collaborate, so that we all are on the same page, everyone has that information. How we can make the change? Simply say we can tell, I'll just move this cursor over here. Yep. So say, for example, for the month of August, we are going to see a 10% decline in sale. Or say 15% decline in sale. I just have to click on 15% select as sales. So I can quickly see that automatically in the sales row, my number is shown over here. And this is at a category level. I've not made change at the SKU level. I can similarly make change at a particular location level if I want to, and just save these changes automatically in the system. So everything would get updated over here. and they can make changes through the planner row. The planning team can come and make changes in the planner row, or the management team can come and make their final contribution and say that nothing doing. We are going to, play very conservatively, and we are going to further reduce it, or maybe we are going to be very optimistic and increase the number and play along. So this collaboration role is very important, where we not only generate the accurate predictions first, but we also make use of the collaboration from other teams. Quite a number of times people find it quite difficult to do it on this screen over here, and that's the reason we have an option for Excel collaboration, where we can just export this report to Excel and open it in Excel and see all the information that we see on the system is displayed over here, and we can quickly and easily make changes directly over here. And you will notice that system is going to show me past few months of historical sales, along with it the updated number that we had updated, and also the final the forecast which has come from the system. We can save it, bring it back in the system. So it's really easy that we distribute these reports to our sales team. They make the update in the Excel files. Also, they can make they can put their comments, and everything would get exported or imported back in the system. We can uh, check the information why the change was made. In this case, the comment says that there was if there is lower demand or lower sale expected, and we can similarly view the information in one shot in the Excel in these reports. This override report over here, we can see in which row was made the change, what was the baseline number, why had they made change. So we had put in the comments over here, higher sales expected, and we can keep archive this within the system, or we can save it in Excel. So any of the report that you see over here are easily exported out of the system, and can be exported um, uh, very quickly, easily out of the system for further use, further analysis. That's really important. So we are keeping a track of these records, these changes, and the reason why the particular member has made the change in the system. It becomes very crucial, say 2 months down the line or 3 months down the line, where when we would be reviewing our actual forecast accuracy. At that time it becomes very critical, it comes in very handy. We can question the people why they had given certain inputs, and if the deviation was too high, then why did it not happen the way we had expected, what was the reason behind it. The idea is not to question each and everything. The idea is to understand what went wrong and where did we went wrong, so that we take necessary action and correct the same situation for the future as well. So that was very critical information that we get over here. I'm going to increase the size, rearrange it. So now we have this information, and we have it from different team members. What we can also see over here is the final forecast, which gets updated after all the collaboration is done. System is automatically disaggregating the overrides that we would have made to all the levels below, to all the levels which are impacted by this particular item. That's automatically taken into consideration that information. Another key important feature that I would want to say highlight over here is the analogy method for the forecast for the new products. In this case, this particular product line was sold only in 1 month, or say if it's a totally new product. But you can see it's giving me some pattern forecast over here. So we can make use of the analogy method, where we tell the system that pick the history or pick the trend from an existing product over here, apply it to the new product. It is automatically going to determine the launch total. Automatically, it's done automatically by the system. So I'm not making any comments over here. But however, say if the marketing team has this information and we can incorporate that information over here, we can tell what that number would be. Say my team has said it's going to be 20,000 or higher or lower number, and we tell what would be the launch horizon. Say if a product is going to be in sale for just 3 or 4 periods, not more than that. Certain special promo offers come for the specific time period and they are not sold throughout the year. So in such cases, we can make use of the launch horizon, and we can align the seasonality in case the seasonality needs to be aligned to an existing product. We can do that. And when I do that, automatically it's going to align these numbers to match the estimated amount and all the information that we see over here. There are other techniques as well. However, I'll not go into much detail in the interest of time today. Just was just to show you how a capable systems work over here. So say we have the forecast frozen. We can also bring in the annual target just to see how close or how far off we are with our projections. In this case, say we are quite far off from the projection. So we can take similar information over here and try to figure out the gap between our projections and the target that we had frozen in the beginning of the time period. We can see the information on a monthly basis, or if we want, we can have it on a quarterly basis compilation as well. We can upload the conversion factors. Say we can upload the cost, the value, so that we can measure what would be the revenue that we would be expecting, say at the Chennai level or say at the India level total. So how much are we expecting? What's the margin that we are expecting basis the price factors that we have given in the system? So that can be easily taken care of. We can further go ahead and integrate the system and try to bring in the month to date sale. And it's really critical information that we bring in the month to date sale over here. This essentially would help us in you know sensing the demand at early stages. Say we are expecting very high sale, and within first week of opening, we had out of the 1096 that we had planned in the beginning, 119 is already over, and the rest is 977. So we can quickly map out how much is remaining and how much we are already done, so that we keep a track of it. We can measure the YTD, how much on a YTD basis we are increasing or decreasing, how it is going to pan out on that. At this critical juncture, it's really important that to check, are there any open orders that we have? Are there certain customers who had given the orders in advance and they would want a fulfillment of those? So we can bring in the open orders over here. That's really critical that we take into consideration the open orders. We can also bring in the open stocks. So this is our open stock that we have brought in. So we have an open stock of 450 units, and we know clearly that 1096 is are going to be our prediction, and 977 is to go, and we have a lead time of 2 months. So the lead time is of 2 months for this product, and there is going to be a shortage for this product at this point of time. The system is determining that if this is my lead time, if this is my forecast, then what should be my safety stock? What should be the demand during lead time? These are really critical information that we can get out of the system. It further tells me that what is my reorder point. In this case, it's the demand plus my demand during lead time plus my safety stock becomes my reorder point. So this is my reorder point, and we can see that we are very low than the reorder point itself. So what we can now do is determine, are there any arrivals that are happening which can at least you know minimize our stockouts. In this case, we have certain arrivals or certain in-transit goods which would be arriving this month, and then we can determine what would be our closing stock. In this case, the closing stock is zero, but and our coverage is also going to be zero. But it also is generating that this is the amount that I need to order to our supplier or to the uh, you know place or to the distributor who would be supplying the product to me. This is the amount that needs to be ordered at this point of time to be able to minimize the stock out. So this amount is going to come in the next month, and then we would see there would be certain stock coming in. This is the amount of stock that we would have. So it's automatically determining the order projections. So the I have the order projections over here for all the forward periods that I can see on the screen. So that's really critical information. It also gives me an information that this is our order value, and we can keep a minimum order quantity or minimum order value kind of checkpoints over here, that we are not going to order beyond a certain amount or beyond a certain uh, quantity, so that it fulfills our necessary criteria for this supply planning, and it's going to give me a projection basis that. So that's really important. In this case, what we had determined what should be the ordering quantity for Bangalore and Chennai. And the ordering quantity for Bangalore and Chennai becomes the demand for my warehouse. And that's where this information that the warehouse one is going to come into picture. The warehouse one lead time is 2 months in this case. The safety stock is determined by the system, is going to be so much. It's telling me the demand during lead time is so much, basis the demand that has come in, and this is going to be my opening stock. It tells me, are there open orders that I need to fulfill, are there any arrivals. Then it determines what should be my warehouse order. So this order can either go to my factory, or it goes to our principal suppliers who would be supplying us the products, and would determine all our closing stocks for the forward period. So it gives me a comprehensive picture of my entire planning process in one sheet itself for all the products put together. I can not only do this, but I can also say create certain layouts and say I want to now check out how my month's closing would look like, how my ordering quantity would turn out to be for the forward period. You can see in this case, since there was a shortage of stock, so we are going to order excess in the first month, but over a period of time, depending on our lead time and our stocking norms, it's going to become normal. So now we are going to keep a consistent or balanced stock in our locations, so that it determines it balances our inventory, and it is also going to tell me our month closing stock. Since this order we are going to give now, it's going to come after some time. That's why we would have a very high stock initially, and then slowly over a period of time our closing stock would also come down. This is critical information. This is a very intuitive interface that we have over here, where we can slice the information. We can view the same information in various angles, through various lenses, through from the stock perspective, from the demand perspective, say from the year-on-year perspective. We can bring in different charts to analyze our data as accurately as possible. So that becomes a real critical information that we have over here, and these reports can be exported out. The data, say the order amount, order value, or the forecast, can be exported out of the system through the numeric report. It gets exported in Excel, or you can say export through any of the connections that you have over here. There is a comprehensive list of reports that are available over here. One of my favorite is the forecast tracking report that you can also see over here, where we are, say, tracking the information. Say I'm going to go to this level over here. So we are telling that for the month of July, this was the actual amount. But in June, we had predicted for July, August, and forward periods so much value. So this is the forecast that we had done in in June for all the forward periods. Then in July, we are predicting for the month of August, September, October, November. So on one screen, I will get to know what is my error rate or what is my accuracy rate for different lead times. And lead times are very critical. Uh, I mean, I don't even have to explain that why lead times are really important and why we need to look at forecast, in forecast accuracy with various lead time lenses, because one could be, say, for the sales team would require it for 1 month, but our production planning team would require this information 3 months in advance, and that becomes really critical information that we monitor our forecast accuracy or our corrections of our prediction 3 months in advance, and that's why we have a lower error in this case, and then the error is increasing and decreasing as we go on and move along the time. And we can say review this information at any level that we can see over here. In certain cases, it's going to be high. In certain cases, it's going to be low, and we need to go on correcting those levels where we see a very huge error rate, and we can correct it. And we can leave it as it is for areas where we see a consistent, very good accuracy level. In fact, I would really want to, emphasize over here. So yesterday we did a session on, importance, how we can use a BI tool and what are the importance of the BI tools in supporting the demand planning process. So that was one area where we had comprehensively covered the various aspects or the various aspects of checking the error and determining the forecast value add. So even if, say, we are collaborating with different stakeholders, we need to determine what value add are they giving to our forecast. Are they increasing the forecast, or are they reducing the forecast accuracy? Are they really bringing something on table? Do they have, does our forecast have very high bias? So we can have, say, tracking signals. We can determine the error value to be able to determine, where should we focus on. We do not want to have a very high error value, because that automatically translates to very high inventory or very low inventory or very poor forecasting, and ultimately it impacts at both our bottom line as well as top line. So that's very a detailed session that was taken by uh, director Rishi yesterday. I would urge you guys to have a look at that session as well if you haven't done that already. So yeah, so we were over here talking about the reports. As you can see, there are quite a number of comprehensive reports that we can see over here. We have a waterfall report where we can aggregate the error for different lead times and try to determine what would be the error, what would be, say, our history versus forecast. Is there a very huge, YOY growth, or a very huge negative decline in the sales, things like that. So we can also customize the report the way we would want, and these comes in very handy because these are automatically automated information that we have over here, and we can make use of these reports in one go automatically over here. Um, that essentially summarizes the important feature that I really wanted to cover in this session. However, since we have some time, we would be taking up a few questions. If you have any question, then please put it in the chat box. We'll take it from there. We would also want to say focus on few of the other features that I can possibly show you over here. In the meantime, we can do our Pareto analysis. It's really important that we focus on the A-class items which contribute, say, to our 80% of value. We can determine whether we want to, do the Pareto analysis basis the ABC, basis our units, or basis, say, our cost, or basis our value, or maybe even margin if we can bring in the margin information. So we can do that. In this case, we have done this classification basis the value that we had put in, because the revenue, we are going to focus on high value products, and we would be focusing on A class items. So we can group the products in A, B, C and view the information. We can say go to the item report over here, and we can look at the groupings. We can go to the settings over here, and we can say list the Pareto, and automatically it will give me all the items, say, which would be, we can change this graph. Yeah, so yeah, we have this is my A class item, which the system has automatically telling me. I can go back to the reports. So I'll just organize this chart. Yeah. So I have my ABC and all the information over here. I can say double click and automatically the option would open over here, and I can monitor it directly. I can also activate the filter in case I just want to focus on the A items only, and they would be reflected over here, and I can just double click and quickly run through my A class items so that I can be more focused on A rather than other categories. There is one question over here that I'll be taking up now. So the question is, we can plan top to bottom and bottom to top scenario both. So yes, this system is quite capable of both top to bottom and bottom up scenario. So by default, the system is generating the forecast at the bottom level. That's the default criteria that we have over here. So it's generating the forecast at the last item. In this case, the last item and location combination is where we are forecasting. But say there are a certain categories. I'll just quickly close this up. I have one option to show over here. Say for example, I've just taken this scenario. So say for example, there are frequent phase in phase out kind of scenarios, where a particular new product is introduced which is relevant only for 3 to 4 months, and then it gets phased out, and then we add new product. In that case, the historical data for each of the products is very short to be able to determine the sale. However, if we say combine the total SKUs and make it a part of a product hierarchy, or make it a part of product category, it's really amazes us that we can see certain trends at that level rather than at the SKU or at the particular location level. So it's quite useful to use top down technique that we have used. Say if I just remove the top down over here, it's going to give me a blank plain forecast, or maybe a zero forecast in this case. Yes, it's zero. I do not have any forecast because now we have introduced a new product which we are launching from now onwards. So what should we do in such case? We tell the system that use a top-down technique, find out the find out the seasonality at this level, generate the forecast, and push it down to the bottom levels. We know that these products are discontinued, so they are no longer in use. That's why you do not see any focus for those products. But this is the item which we are going to launch in June now, and that's why we want to generate the forecast for this particular item. And the top-down technique very beautifully helps us to determine the forecast at the category level first, and then disaggregates it to the lower level. However, we always recommend to do the forecast at the from the bottoms up level, because it's if the system is able to identify or determine the pattern at the bottom level, then our chances of generating a much accurate forecast at the bottom level is quite high compared to a top down approach. But top down in such cases is really necessary in these cases where there are continuous phase in phase outs, and we want to make use of the trends at the category. We want to make use of that and then use that for a prediction that we can use over here. Thanks, Mohit, for asking this question. If you guys have, I hope I was able to, answer your question correctly. In case I was not, feel free to type in. I'll be able to help you out. Uh, I'll try to provide more answers over here. We can also do another, option that we see over here is hierarchy flipping. And it's just like how we work in pivot, so we can make use of that information. Say for example, I want to look at the information at all the different locations first. I want to group the information basis at my locations first, so I move this to the top. I'll flip the hierarchy, and when I do so, you notice I can easily quickly slice dice the information. So it's trying to aggregate the information at the location level. So I can see Bangalore, Chandigarh, Chennai, and Delhi level, and then I can further disaggregate and see, okay, Delhi is contributing so much, and these are the various product lines. And I can accordingly make, say, I want to make a change only to Delhi level because I know Delhi has sealed borders. So I know there is going to be a very huge supply issues for the month of June now, and I can say that I would only be supply only 30,000. That to buy some miracle. Maybe I need to get certain approvals over here. So I can easily do that, and my focus would become 30,000. So automatically, it's not only helping me analyze the information at different levels, but I can also give my inputs at those levels, and it will automatically translate to the relevant information and for all my calculations below. I'll restore it so that we get the correct view over here. Okay. Shane, you will have to ask, give me some more details about what you exactly want to know about the technology footprint over here. Or maybe we can take this question offline as well over here. It's PC based. So it's a desktop based solution that we have over here. We can run it on a server as well, but essentially we use it on desktop based itself. So it becomes very easy to implement. It's quite easy, and it's quite comprehensive, and it's easy to make use of. What volume of SKUs and location does it support? Since it's PC based, there is no constraint on the number of SKU and location combination over here. It would only depend on how much RAM do you have in your desktop. So the better the configuration of your system, the faster the output from this from Focus Pro. Essentially, there is no such limitation. I'm using say 8 GB of RAM, but depends on what configuration of system you would be wanting for your kind of um, setup. So we need to look on that. Okay, so I think lost sale, this is the last question that I'll be taking. It's a very good question. So it's talking about whether it takes into or it calculates lost sale. It automatically does not calculate lost sale. However, I had covered a very important information over here where we had created an event for stockouts. So if we have, say, for example, that information with us, or we upload the stock information or stock closing information at different point in time, so we can, number one, make use of the regression technique, the dynamic regression technique over here to determine whether the stock is impacting our sales or not, whether less stock is impacting the sales. So that relationship will be determined by the system automatically. Say we do not have the closing stock of each of the months, then we can make use of the event information. We mark the event. Say I'm just going to take one random example over here. Maybe I might say for example, in this case, this is the particular time period when the sales were too low, and I marked this as a stock out event. It was because of stock out, and that resulted in lost sales, and it's not going to happen again. So it's automatically going to make my forecast better. It's not going to repeat this stock out in my future time period as well automatically. So that is one of the key parameter over here. And Shane, we are going to do another round of session of our different system. This is Forecast Pro that I'm showcasing. We are going to do two different demos of our other systems as well. One is a Streamline and another one is a Vanguard system. In the coming week, I think the registrations are open on our website. You can make use of it, register, and you can also go through those softwares as well for that we would be covering in the coming session. And I would be glad if that would meet all your requirements. Okay, guys. So thanks so much. We are already 2 minutes above our scheduled time. We would be taking a leave now. Thank you so much for participating in this session, everyone. I hope to see you guys in the next session. The upcoming session is on next Thursday and Friday for collaborations and for the other system that we have streamlined. So I hope to see you guys there as well. And feel free to ask any question at a later point in time. Stay safe. Take care. Thank you. Thank you so much.